Okay, here we go. Revenue generating activities for podcasters. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the space. Welcome to the clubhouse room. You're going to be here with me. It's 9:45 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to be here together up until 11 a.m. Eastern. So it's going to be exciting to be here with y'all. We're going to have amazing guests and amazing conversations in the room. So please make sure that you are, staying in touch and being here, period. And also focusing on the room for today. So I hope you guys enjoy this room. I hope you guys take notes and also take action because that's what's going to help you really know what you're going to do for 2024. So I just sent out the link to, people to sign up and, join the room, be part of the conversation. And they'll be coming in shortly. And as you're also coming into, feel free to ask me any question. Ask me any question as well. So I really looking forward to this room. There's so much that we have to do um, in today's room because I feel like the conversations we're going to have are going to help you make better decisions on how to think about revenue generating activities. I call it RGA. Welcome, John, and good to see you, Patience. It's been a while. Thank you for joining us today. Good to have you here, and Dr. Fashion as well as in the building. Thank you all for being here with me today. Sorry, I had to take some time before the room started. I had to wrap up a new meeting, a client meeting, so it started a little bit late and time zones and everything. So I had to make sure I'm here on time. But I got my good friends here with me. So I hope you guys can hear me today. So I hope you guys can hear me. Hey, Julie, good morning. I can't hear you, Julie. Maybe the app is glitching again. Dr. Fashion, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for being here with us. Hey, John.
Good morning. I hope all is well for you.
All is well, thank you. It's a bright day, it's a blessed day, and it's a Thursday. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to today. Thursdays are it's like Thursdays are really nice days for me. It feels like Friday, but it's a Thursday, but it's like pre-Friday. It always feels good. Jilly, how are you? Let's see if we can hear us. Oh no. Okay, maybe try check your either the Wi-Fi or the audio quality on Clubhouse, because sometimes that could be a thing. So we're gonna try it one more time. Feel free to interrupt me if you can hear me. Let's try one more time. Julie, can you hear me? Okay, she's probably changing the settings. But as we're here, as Julie is getting prepared, I wanted to go around the stage real quick. Dr. Fashion, I'd like you to introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you're doing, what you're up to, and then passing it to John. And then I'm hoping that Julie would be back by then. So I'm passing it to you, Dr. Fashion.
Yeah, sure. So everybody knows me as Dr. Fashion. I'm a content creator, entrepreneur. I manage influencers and been creating content for over 16 years now. So I really love the topic of today, which is revenue generating activities, because I love talking about money in different ways to monetize. But yeah, I'm just here to support Favor, and hopefully, I'll be sharing a great amount of details to help you guys make some money as a podcaster.
And Favor's on the phone, so he probably wants me to go next. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm a radio broadcaster. I'm a retired police sergeant. Got hurt, retired young, and got into the radio space. Been doing FM music work for about 19 years now. And 2017, I launched what I learned from radio, created the law enforcement Today, this is called then podcast, which is quickly recruited by radio. It's now syndicated, broadcast on weekly with 111 affiliate stations to about 40 million combined population. Episodes go online as a podcast. little bit after that. I help podcasters with discoverability, also formatting of their show, and I'll have a conversation with one of the largest radio groups here in our area that is struggling with reach and engagement on social media, podcasts, and all that. So, wherever I can help, I try to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
Hey,
Thank you,
Favor.
Dr. Julie is back.
Oh my God,
Hey,
it finally works. I'm so sorry. I don't know what was up. So thanks, guys. I don't want to interrupt. Let's go. Let's go,
let's
Favor. You
go.
got
Yeah,
this.
Julie, let's introduce yourself. Let's let the people know you a little bit. The amazing Julie.
Thank you, Favor. And why I'm amazing? Because I surround myself with amazing people like Dr. Fashion, Favor, and John, and all of you guys. And podcasting is a real thing. It is a real thing in terms of how you can market your business, how you can generate MRR, monthly recurring revenue, but you got to know how to do it right because so many of us podcasters, we're spinning our wheels. So let's talk about it today. Thanks, guys. Oh, and I love everything media. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Julie's amazing. You see why y'all should listen to Julie? Y'all should follow her. Make sure you're in touch with Julie, Dr. Fashion, and John. Amazing people. So we're gonna all, contribute to today's conversation, and I hope you guys learned something. Patience, you're at work, so you're listening on the fly. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And Vanessa, good to see you. It's been a while. Love your profile picture. I almost missed you there. Thanks for being here with us as well today. And Alexander, appreciate you and everyone in the room too. So we're gonna kick off with the first revenue generating activity for podcasters, which everybody should have. It should be something you should have. I'm not saying it's mandatory, but I'm saying it's essential. And what that is for you to have a revenue generating activity going for you, the first task of the day is to make sure that you have a strong and growing email list. That's the first point. Go ahead, Julie. Let's run it.
I'm clapping for you, and I love how the bell came up. I'm just clapping for you. That's like true and solid advice.
Thank you. Yes, because if you want to think about revenue, start with the bottom line. You want to make money, start with the bottom line. If you want to exchange something, you have to have something in exchange. It just makes sense because if I want to sell something, then I need to create a system, a process that allows me to receive it, right? If I want to pay you now and I don't have any way to pay you and I only have cash, then I can't make that transaction. I mean, with cash you can, but when it comes to like a system, you want to have a point of sale, a POS, right? You want to have a process, a system, something that works for you. And anytime you're making a purchase, anytime you're making a purchase on anything, most times, more often than not, you have to put in your email address, right? You have to put in your shipping details, you have to put in your billing details, you have to put in your email to get a receipt, right? So if big companies are still getting emails today, if you go to facebook.com, you have to sign up with your email. If you have to go to any platform today to log into an account, you need your email. Why do you think those companies are making money? Because they have your email. So the first revenue generating activity for you as a business, as a podcaster, is to grow your email list. Now, a lot of people will start wondering, how do I grow an email list when I just have a podcast? Right? My podcast is on Apple, is on Spotify. How can I get an email list? How can I build one? The answer is you got to have a website, right? Because the website is going to help you get emails. The website is going to help you get subscribers. When you hear the word subscribers, a subscriber is someone that is in support of what you do, right? When I subscribe to something, it means that I'm in agreement with you on something, right? About something. So if I'm subscribing to your podcast, it means that I am in support of your podcast. And one way I can show support is by leaving my contact information with you because it also tells me that I have an audience, I have a person. When you look at your score and you have 30 new followers, 30 new subscribers, on, let's say, Spotify, right? You can see the number of followers on Spotify, but you don't have their contact information. Spotify does. Spotify has their email. Spotify has their account. They have their listening history. You don't have any intellectual property other than a number. Oh, I have one subscriber. I have one follower. It's not going to do you any good if you don't have their contact information on top of that, right? Because when you start having contacts with people, it starts to change and starts to grow. So I want to pause on that real quick, and I want to hear from, Julie, Dr. Fashion, or John, whoever has something to say. Please, let's talk about it. What do you think about emails, websites, and podcasts for subscription, and also definitely for the room topic for today?
And this can be translated into anything we're doing. Even if you're not a podcaster, you're just thinking you're a podcaster, you need an email list. You need a website to prove yourself digitally. It's like the sign hanging from your brick and mortar. It's just to get recognition. And I have a robust email list. However, I do it in a lot of different ways. And how do you do it? You have opt-ins. You have to ask people to subscribe. You have to consistently remind people that this is how they send their love, by giving their email address. And if you don't, people forget. People always forget. We're busy, so let's make sure that we're always asking for these emails or have opt-ins on our websites. Podpage is a great place, guys, if you are a podcaster. Pod page, you can create a podcast website in about, what did we say, like 5 minutes? And I'm not joking. A fully branded website, 5, maybe 10 minutes, if tech is not your thing. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Julie. That's so helpful. Yeah, because having a website is already techy and it's already stressful. But I believe when you have a website to support your podcast, then you're also building a domain that is going to have authority over time. And how that time is going to play into your success is how consistent and how qualitative your process is, and how articulate you're able to show that people are interested in your content, and you're also listening to them by getting feedback from them as well. So that's really a big thing to consider. It happened to Julie again. Damn, this is weird. Clubhouse got to get this together. Go ahead, Dr. Fashion.
You're good. I was just going to add to that because I agree with you guys just said. I will also say for those that are working on a website, you don't have to wait for it to be done to build up your email list. So even though you probably don't have that together yet, or funding may be an issue, you can still build up your email list for free. So there are like several websites out there that will allow you to collect over 1,000 emails. And then when you have that website together, you already have an audience of people that's waiting for something beyond just your newsletter. So one that I like to recommend is MailChimp, and the other one is MailerLite, and I will put those in the chat for you guys. But I just wanted to share that because oftentimes people feel like, oh, I don't have money for a website, I don't have money for an email list, but a lot of things can be free and you don't have to wait to get started.
You don't have to wait to get started. I like that, because people wait for something, connections, money, capital, some type of resource, a Tinkerbell, something. I don't know. They wait for some type of magic to happen instead of just focusing on the actual task at hand and doing it correctly. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, MailerLite, MailChimp is amazing. I use Flowdesk myself, and I've been with them since 2019. It's been a beautiful experience with them. And I'm actually currently working on getting the co-founder to the podcast to talk about, the success of Flowdesk, because I want to go beyond just the subscription plan. I want to actually talk with the brand. And it's been going well. We're just, back and forth on emails, but I'm praying that it does come through, because they've been an amazing, people. When you think about emails, the number of emails, and I think this is kind of like, I don't know, it's a tactic for them. Everyone's doing business their own way. But Dr. Fashion, don't you think that with MailChimp, like, it's kind of like stealing in a way? It's like robbing someone, because if I have 1 million subscribers on my list, now I have to pay top dollar to keep that going, when a platform like Flowdesk gives me unlimited subscribers and I'm only paying $19 a month at 50% off, for a year, and still have that same 1 million subscribers. Do you think that companies should have that subscriber count, next to their payment plan, or do you think it should be free for all and still people for have a brand experience? I'm just asking because you brought up MailChimp.
Yeah, like my clients that use MailChimp, I mean, they're using it, the free one. um, they're not paying for anything, but there is a limit. And last time I checked on their website, it was pretty clear that this is what the limit is. But a lot of people actually struggle getting 1,000+ emails. And when I tell people to get emails, it's more than just collecting them. That does nothing for you if they're not opening up the email. So that's another topic, is like people think, oh, I got all these emails. I had a client that had 10,000 emails, but if you only got like 10 people opening them, what does that do for you? So I will say, as you're collecting these emails, make sure you're paying attention to the analytics to make sure what your open rate look like, because we're on a topic of monetization, and I monetize my email list. I monetize my newsletter. So if there's a brand that wants to pay me to advertise their product or service, I don't necessarily have to advertise it in the podcast show. I could just put a picture with a link in the newsletter. So it's just like different ways you guys can go about it.
I like that. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. That is a good way to point at it, because it's like you're creating value in exchange for something that they're receiving over time, and you're using the email to nurture and connect with them. And one beautiful thing I've realized about emails, they say that I think one email contact is equivalent to about $40. That's subjective. You guys can research that. But what I've realized about emails is there is money in your email list. I'm sure you've heard that somewhere before. There is money in your email list. And the money is not coming to you in one way, it's coming to you in several ways. Because I can send an email today, and because I remain top of mind, right, for you as a consumer, then the day that you really need this service or this product, you won't have to go looking for it because it's already available to you. So I sent like an email this week because I kicked off the Podcast Growth Academy, right? I sent out an email to our 6,500 plus contacts. And what I got on the back end, I got someone sending me a question about a referral. Somebody connected with me on LinkedIn. Somebody else sent a referral again, and then I was able to get a contact on a call, which led to the call I had this morning to the lady that's in Toronto. Just because of one email that was sent, it kind of like put people back in the spiral wheel of, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, marketing is about remembering. It's not really about selling. It's about putting the brand in someone's face and being consistent, right? I can be marketing to you all day and you may never buy from me that same day. But if I'm marketing to you every day and then one day I'm coming to you to the market, I'm going to buy. Think about the market. It's a market. You don't buy, you buy and sell, but you don't sell every day. You don't buy every day, right? Some days you buy, some days you sell. Some days you fill up your inventory, some days you have a clearance sale. So you have to think about those balances. But when you start thinking about your email list and sending out contacts and sending out content to them, then it goes a really, really long way. And that also activates your domain because it also gives you that high deliverability. And something you said to Dr. Fashion about opening your emails. This is something I've realized. I've said it before. Your email list, right? The reason why your email list is getting high open rates and high click rates is not just because of the technical add-on or the technical ability, but it's also because of your name, your brand name. If I send you an email and the email has my name on it, I'm going to open that email out of the thousand of the emails because I know that that email you've sent me has value. So your open rate and your click rate, yes, is highly dependent on your technical SEO, your domain, the server, the DNS, records and all that technical stuff. But ultimately, it boils down to your brand name. If I see your email and I see your name and I open it, it's because I want to hear from you. I'm subscribed to you, right? I'm committed to that cause. But if I'm not subscribed to you and I just get an email because I have 10,000 people on my list, I don't care about your email because I didn't subscribe to it. I don't even know what you do for me to be interested to open your email. So you have to think about those things as far as the brand name is concerned. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Fashion. John, what are your thoughts on the topic?
Email marketing is one of the go-to questions that media buyers that I deal with all the time. That's one of the questions I ask. How many email subscribers do you have? as part of the decision making process. For those who don't have an email list yet and they don't want to spend money, you can get a free email newsletter in LinkedIn. I use the free profile LinkedIn. I don't pay for it. All you need is 150 followers. And right now, my weekly newsletter that I send out actually twice a week has 4,399 subscribers. And I give you analytics, basic analytics about opens, reach, all that stuff. Substack is another place where you can do free email newsletters. There's Dr. Fashion said some of the different choices you have. There's multiple ways. Think of it this way, and someone made a great point. It's really not about the total numbers. Uh, it's more about engagement. Now, let's just say this: if you had an email newsletter with 100 subscribers, where else? And I heard someone else say this yesterday. Where else can you open up your front door and talk to 100 people immediately within moments? No, you can do that with social media and email newsletters. It's a great way to work on it. And yeah, opens are important. You got to look at that and pruning your list routinely. But don't discount places like LinkedIn. They got free newsletters and they do all the heavy lifting. Once you set it up, it's just go, go, go.
That's so true. Thank you so much, John, for that. I believe in social networks because it just helps. If you have a YouTube channel, a LinkedIn account, you post a new video, you have subscribers, you get an email. And it just makes sense. If someone commented on your video or someone commented on your post or sent you a message, LinkedIn sends you an email. Hey, somebody commented on your video or your email, or somebody left a message in your DM. YouTube, someone left a comment, someone liked your post, someone reacted to it. You get an email. So those emails you're getting are not just emails, they're not just alerts. That's SEO too, because that is brand awareness, that is brand recognition, that's brand engagement, right? When you get a company email saying, hey, we just changed updates to our privacy policy, we just changed our terms of service, you get that email, you're probably not going to read that email, but you're probably going to open it, right? Because you want to know what they're talking about. You just have an idea and then you let it go. So as a podcaster, whether you're a host or a guest, you have to start thinking about building a website for your email list, because when you start building a subscription list for your podcasts, you can start thinking about merch, merchandise. You can start thinking about affiliate links. If you have it on Amazon, you can start thinking about, building retention models for your business. So there are so many ways you can go about it, but before you make $1, you need to get at least one email. Like, that's just how it works. If you're booking a flight ticket today, you're going to get an email confirmation, right? If you're booking for a hotel, you're going to get an email confirmation. If trying to get a job, you're going to get an email confirmation. If you're trying to, book something, you're going to get an email confirmation. So why are we not using emails for our podcast? Because some people just have a podcast, it's live everywhere, but there's no acquisition of leads. There's no acquisition of, consumers that I can actually sell to or connect with or nurture or even decide to, work with, check on. So that's really one way you have to start thinking about, revenue generating activities. There are two more. I'm not going to overload us with a lot, but there are two more that I have for us in today's room, because we'll be done by the top of the hour. But I wanted to welcome you, Dragon, to the room. Thank you for being here. We'd love to hear from you. And welcome to Marketing Club. Hope you'll be a member of the club or the house after today. So I'm passing it to you if you have any questions.
And the room goes silent. And Dragon has been a podcaster for, I don't know, everyone here. And I'm not sure about Dr. Fashion, how long she's been podcasting for, but I know Favor and John have been podcasting since I was an infant, basically. Dragon, are you there?
That's
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
I'm here.
That's
I just,
funny.
I guess I
Oh,
just that
man.
I took that little split second to that I wasn't paying attention and missed that somebody said something about me. Anyway, Favor, it's good to see you, man.
Email lists.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I was just, it was super. I love his
Isn't it
name
awesome?
because I'm
I
French.
like literally
Yeah.
asked him if that was his real name, and he said yes, his mother.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Hmm.
Can you do me a favor? So that's why I'm here. I'm doing me a favor. Um, yeah, something interesting to share on this topic, and thanks so much for allowing me the space. Um, I'm working now with many people on a new campaign that I'm going to start. One of them is the amazing John. I'm finally working with John, which is super cool, and always working with Julie. But I'm also working with somebody that's going to help me with a new campaign on Instagram. So what's relevant about the email list is this. He was explaining to me, and I thought this was really cool that I think a lot of people can take away, is that I currently use one of those multi options of how to interact with me. It's Zez, and I think some of you guys use like Linktree and things like that. So like on my Instagram or wherever I put in my my signature or something like that, contact me, I'll put that link. And you open it up and it's really pretty and you can find my podcast there and all that stuff. And what he was telling me is that that's a very ineffective. Now, I'm not telling everybody that they should do this, but I found this interesting. He said that's a very ineffective way to convert. And I said, explain. And to your point, what you guys are talking about is he says, whenever you capture somebody's interest, whether it's in your social media or anywhere you meet them, there should always be one way for them to interact with you, and it should always, to your point, capture their email, right? So I haven't completed the process yet, but what we're doing now is anytime somebody wants to contact me, there's going to be a certain process, whether it be giving them some sort of free digital asset or something like that, but it'll be triggered by them getting on my email list. So, and that's, to your point, Favor, uh, if I don't do that, there's so much more stuff that I need to do because now they're not in my email list. So I love that. And then the second thing he taught me, which was really cool, which is a little off topic, but it's valuable, is he says, remember when you're on social media, and this is to that point as well. He says, anytime you take somebody from, say, Instagram and give them an action step that takes them off Instagram, off of the platform that you're using, Instagram doesn't like that. So the more you can keep people in the social media platform, the more exposure you'll get from the platform. So just one quick idea is that's why you hear these people that are crushing it say things like, put this word in the comments and you'll get an automatic DM or something like that with ManyChat and these services. The reason why Instagram likes that is it's keeping the people in the platform. So that's it. Just a little dragon fire for you guys. Thanks for letting me have some time.
Well, yeah, we always love some dragonfly. Definitely. Thank you so much
By
for
the way, I love the
that.
color purple, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I love the movie The Color Purple, by the way.
Purple wins.
Yeah. Season.
Yeah, my favorite. I have two big favorite colors. I don't know. I can't choose between the two. It's purple and turquoise. So I'm always like ping ponging between the two, but purple comes first. So thank you so much for that, Dragon. I really agree with you on that, especially on LinkedIn, because I've been very heavy on LinkedIn this year and intentionally being on LinkedIn, which has created so many opportunities that I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Because on LinkedIn, you talked about something staying on the platform. And this is a big thing I want you guys to focus on, especially even for podcasting as a revenue generating activity for podcasters. When you have a podcast, a lot of people don't do this. I don't expect it to be done by everyone, but I also know that I love testing, trying new things out. I'm always open to new things. I'm never closed down on any option because you never know what doors can open what. So I'm very like open minded. If you do this for your podcast, try this out and see if it's worked. This is the second point I wanted to bring. A second way of revenue generating activity you can do for your podcast is actually being on the podcast talking about episodes previously that have been published. So you're pretty much mouthing or voicing your, how do I put this, your previous episodes, like creating internal links but in voice mode, if that makes sense. So if I'm about to start a podcast or mid roll through my podcast, I'm saying, hey, by the way, if you're loving this episode, make sure you listen to episode 159. I talked about this, and you can click the link in the show notes if you want to, listen to that episode. What you're doing is you're prompting them to go to that episode that has some type of value. So let's say that episode you're referring them to has a sponsored ad or has some type of placement. They don't know that, you do, but you know that that's going to bring them, closer to your business or learn more about your business. Or you can say, hey, if you want to learn more about our business, listen to this episode where we have our frequently asked questions about our company. Episode, they listen to that episode on the frequently asked questions. Now they're learning more about your business. So the revenue in that is you're internally creating experiences that people can learn from you and also know other episodes, especially when you have a lot of episodes. People don't listen to all your episodes. Chances are they'll listen to maybe 1% of the episodes. If you're a super fan, you might as well listen to all of them. But people are going to listen to what they like, right? So if you are creating clusters within your podcast and okay, here are my top 5 episodes this month, I can talk about them in the new episode, then that new episode is pointing back to the old episodes. And then the old episodes, you can go back and repurpose them and take them back to new episodes by clipping or, snipping, audio bites and then telling them about the new episode. So you can do it that way too. So when you're internally creating content, you're emphasizing that by actually putting a link in your show notes. You're creating awareness for your brand, and you're also giving some type of direction to your audience. That way, when the revenue stream, when you hear revenue stream is like a river. So where the river flows, that's where the water or the river goes, right? Or the water goes. So if you're creating a revenue stream, then the episodes you're creating have to have sense. They have to create some type of internal linking, strategy that allows you to still connect with people. And then on top of that, right? If you go on LinkedIn, right? I'm using LinkedIn as an example. If I had a LinkedIn post that did well 2 months ago, I'm going to share that link into my new LinkedIn post. So I'll say, hey guys, this is what I talked about in the footer of my LinkedIn post. Here are some other resources you can click on. They'll click on it. It now redirects them to another LinkedIn page. You're staying within the platform. So the more you keep people within the platform, the more you're able to increase that, obsession of letting people learn about your business, because you're giving them more things that they can chew on. Like if the plate is empty, I'm done eating, I want to have more food. I'm going to stand up and go to the buffet and get more food right for round two, right? If I don't see what I like, I'm going to stick with what I have. But if there are options I can choose from, oh, there are 3 more options here I can choose from. Let me choose this one instead of the other 2. So that way you're pretty much creating an appetite without even realizing it for your business. That way your revenue can be increasing. You're letting people stay more within your platform. You're increasing watch time. You're reducing bounce rates, and you're ultimately increasing click through rates. So that's one way you can go about it. So I wanted to hear what y'all's thoughts were on before we now go to you, Jason. Thanks for being here. What are y'all thinking about it, Dr. Fashion, John, Julie, Dragon, 72?
Uh, can I go ahead,
Yeah.
or I'm being patient? So there's I don't know a lot about LinkedIn, and I just really kind of opened maybe a couple months ago, and I got my account, or I verified who I was, and all that good stuff. So there's a lot that I don't know about LinkedIn, and it says in order to go live and post your stuff, you have to have so many followers. Any recommendations on, you know, building your network on LinkedIn for the focus area, like say like podcasting? Any recommendations on that?
Yeah. Um, Great question. So LinkedIn, how do I put this? LinkedIn is really what you make it, because the LinkedIn Live, you definitely have to apply. There's a link. I don't know where it is. I have to probably search and give it to you in the chat. But for you to be on LinkedIn Live, you have to be consistent. You have to apply. You have to also be live on other platforms as well, and just show that your activity is big. On the platform, you have to definitely have a creator account, a LinkedIn creator profile. because that also, gives you the eligibility for having LinkedIn audio events, LinkedIn newsletters, I think the LinkedIn follow button or something like that. And then, of course, you mentioned LinkedIn Live. So when it comes to podcasting and LinkedIn, the best way to go about it, honestly, is to use LinkedIn groups. I talked about it briefly yesterday, and I thought about it this morning, and I said I'm going to do a room on Clubhouse about LinkedIn groups versus Facebook groups, because when you have a LinkedIn group that has 40,000 people, 10,000 people, 400,000 people in there, and you just have a LinkedIn profile with maybe 500 connections, how are you going to tap into that 4,000, 400,000 people by adding value to that community? So one thing I love to do with LinkedIn is polls. You want to do polls on LinkedIn because they do well, right? When you do polls on LinkedIn, you're able to get, feedback, get data. The people who actually respond back to your polls, you can send them a private message and, and pretty much extend the conversation and ask them why they chose that. And then you can take it a little bit further. So LinkedIn is about connections. That's why they say connections and not contacts, because you're connecting with someone at a deeper level. So it just depends on how you want to approach it. There are many ways to skin a cat, but I don't want to give you one size that fits all. But that's a suggestion I can give you to kick off. Does that help?
Absolutely, it helps. I mean, and it also gave me thoughts about, how does LinkedIn treat, links to other platforms? I mean, because Dragon brought up an amazing point that, you need the platform appreciates what you have for that platform. So if you put links to somewhere else, and then I was listening to your suggestion, make it a verbal command. It's just whether people will catch it enough to follow through. Because I do notice that there are certain people, like for example, right now on TikTok, they're literally telling creators, or people are constantly posting this, use the word don't stop and some other cautionary words in the beginning hook of your statement, right? But then you go into other platforms like IG or whatever, or even Facebook, don't use that strategy. So listening to the vibe of what people are saying in each platform for each platform. So I'm really curious. There's a lot I don't know, and I've been taking my sweet time and learning about LinkedIn. But one was just like, forget the handle, like mine 72 the architect all across the board. I'm not saying I'm abandoning that, but I'm going with my real name. It's just going to be easier. It was a struggle, but you know what? I'm willing to like just whatever it takes to get me to the place I want to be, I'll do it. I don't care. Because you know what? People can weigh out the options the way they want, but at the end of the day, what's going to get you the go versus a no go? So I appreciate Dragon's statement and favor your point, because it's something that how many people really go to learn each platform or the updates, like the training modules in IG or the training modules in TikTok, as an example. Some people are not into video, don't be. That's fine. Some people are not into audio, don't be. Be where you want to be, but at least take some time. I think the hardest part for many people's conscious focus is how much effort am I going to put into my training? Well, you train and you get according to the practice that you want to craft, in my opinion. So if you want to get better at it, you got to be willing to put in the reps and the learning time and not being afraid to fail, like so many people will say.
Thank you so much for that, Jason. Yeah, I think the reps in podcasting are the number of episodes you release per month. So if you do 10 reps a month, that means 10 episodes a month. The next month you do 20 reps a month. The next time you do 5 reps a month. Before you know it, you have 52 weeks and 52 episodes times the number of, episodes you were able to do within the week. It can really give you like a long standing, effort that can really take your business to the next level, because verbalizing things helps. We say there's power in the tongue. Life and death is in the power is in the tongue. So if you speak life to your podcast and you literally speak life, like actually speaking into it and talking about things that are going to help you elevate and actually boosting and elevating moods on your podcast show, it's going to come back in measurable amounts, and you'll be able to enjoy of course, the fruits of your labor. Because think about it. If you imagine if you recorded all the conversations you had yesterday and you can listen to them today, it would feel good, right? Because you can remember, you've taken notes, we have a lot of thoughts in our heads in a day. We can't record all those thoughts in a day. But if we can record at least 1% per day, then in a year, we're 365% better than we were previously. So people really underestimate like how much they can do, in 5 years, but like, they just don't know the value of what can be done in 24 hours. So if you verbally talk about your podcast, refer them back to another podcast show, even highlight another show completely that's off from yours and let them know that, hey, I was on this show and you can go to that podcast and listen to it. The people who actually do listen to it, they help. Yesterday I was literally talking to a friend, and he literally told me, hey, I was listening to your podcast and I didn't know that you like to drink lion's mane. And I was like, oh yeah, I did say that. And that was years ago. So people remember these things. So I treat my podcast like a book, and I tell people about my life in a very alter ego way, so that you get to know about me in like this soft skills, and also get to know the brand, get to know the person, get to know the people I interview, because storytelling is a big thing. And if you can tell a story just like your grandma would tell you good stories and you remember it years on, this the same way you want to tell stories as a brand and let people know about how your brand has elevated. Last year you were doing, 1,000 a month. This year you're doing 5,000 a month. You want to talk about why those things are happening. What did you do to make those changes? People love to see the results, but they also love to see the process. So if you can go through the process with them, the more followers, the more subscribers you can get, and definitely the more authenticity you can actually bring to the forefront. So thank you so much for that, Jason. John, I want to hear your thoughts on this whole verbalizing and connecting, because I would love to know what you're thinking on that.
Well, here's what I tell people. It's like, just go back, building a LinkedIn audience. All I do is I post stuff on there that's images, that's about the audience I want to attract. Same with other forms of social media. Before I do anything about me and my episodes of my show, it's always about attracting an audience, and to focus on things they'll engage with. So, having said that, I really want to make the first words out of my mouth, everything I post, every episode of my show, whatever I do, is not me, not I, me, or mine. It's always something about what's in that episode for the consumer, what's in that content for the consumer. For example, on Facebook, I used a lot of posts where I start off with your thoughts on this, whatever it might be. Um, uh, I think this is great. What do you think? It's always asking people to take a step towards you. I don't do the I think this is great very often. It's usually more towards your thoughts, or what do you think about this, or something of that nature. So, in closing, when like social media wise, it's always about what's in it for the consumer, what you're trying to build, you're trying to grow. And then the same thing when it comes to email marketing, your email list. Remember this: there's certain buzzwords that are going to get you flagged almost every time. Free is a big one. Having too many characters in your title is a big one. Someone told me from Constant Contact, keep it to 60 total characters or less, because if you go more than that, quite often it goes directly into spam. So that's really important. It's really about starting off with a word that is going to engage the audience you're looking for. That's the term I come up with.
I love that. Building community is important, because that's where the activities happen. If you create an activity has to involve people. If you're trying to play Monopoly, Scrabble, you know, chess, checkers, it involves people. So if you want to create revenue, it involves people. Without people, there's no profit. So people equals profit, but you know how they say that your network is your net worth. That involves people. So the more people you have on your email list, the more people you have in your community, the more people can talk about your brand without you talking about your brand yourself. So that was a great point, John. Thank you for bringing that up. Deborah is here. Just wanted to acknowledge you, Deborah. Thanks for being here. You were with us. You were with us yesterday. We'd love to know from you. What are you thinking? Have you taken any action since yesterday? Did anything new come up to mind? We'd love to hear from you. Welcome.
No, nothing new has come up. I'm still reviewing. Not able to speak very much because I'm at work right now. But thank you for the space and thank you for having me.
Anytime, Deborah. Appreciate you. She had a really good question yesterday, and that took the room in a really good way. So thanks for being here. So the third, we're at the bottom of the hour. It's 10:30 Central now. The 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 third one I wanted to talk about, which I think is going to be very interesting to hear your thoughts on, for revenue generating activities for podcasters. And I think a lot of us here who are, before I say this, put a one in the chat if you are a podcaster, especially if you own a podcast. I'll start with myself. I'll put a one in the chat just so that, you know, did it work? Oh, I can put one twice. Okay. So put a one in the chat if you are a podcaster. Okay. I want to give you guys some time. I like that morning cup of culture. One, I like that. I like that positive attitude. Love that. Love that. Thanks for being here. Okay. So, okay, we got a couple ones. All right. So the third thing I wanted to say, I don't know if you've tried this, and you can put in the chat yes or no if you've tried this as soon as I say it, is playlists. Create a playlist for your podcast. Because if you have a podcast talking about different things, then having a playlist is going to help. When you think about music, because I have a music background, like I'm a self-taught drummer. I make music, I make jingles. I've done it for companies. I make music in general. I'm a producer, songwriter, so I have an entertainment business background as well. And just by looking at playlists from a music standpoint, not even podcast standpoint, if you think about people who go to work out, go to the gym, they have a gym workout playlist. If you have friends and family over and you want to have like a barbecue, you have a playlist for that. If you're with your significant other, you have a playlist for that. If you want to go to a restaurant, there's usually a playlist, jazz music, whatever you want to enjoy, right? The mood of the music brings the light into the room, right? The energy is what is bringing that mood based on the frequencies that are happening, sonically. So if you have a playlist, this is what I would do, especially if I have a playlist on Spotify, like a podcast playlist on Spotify. What I would do is use, don't take my word for this. Don't do it if you don't want to. If it doesn't match with your brand, it's okay. I'm only giving you suggestions so you can take it or leave it. But I would do this if it was me. If I have 10, let's say we're in the month of April, right? Let's say I have 10 episodes that are really resonating with me for 2024. And I want, let's say Q1 2024, here are the top 10 episodes that we had, or the top 5 episodes that we had. Let's use 5. I don't want to overwhelm y'all. Let's use 5 episodes. Out of those 5 episodes, I would add music, right? I would actually add music, like songs, like actual songs in between the episodes. However you want to do it, it's up to you. However you want to curate it. If you have episode 1, then a song, episode 2, then a song, episode 3, a song, episode 4, and a song, episode 5, and a song. What you're doing essentially is, if you send an email, we start off with emails, right? Imagine you send an email to your list and you tell them, hey, listen to this playlist, this Spotify, playlist. We have amazing podcast episodes for you there. And then there's also some music you can listen to in the interim. What you're doing is you're letting people know about your brand voice and also telling them about your taste, right? So if I send you music, one of them is country, the other one is jazz, the other one is rap, the other one is rock. There has to be a reason why you have all those genres together. But if you're talking about a topic, let's say it's finance or health and wellness or, real estate property or whatever it is that you want to call it, if you have a playlist and you put it out on Spotify, Or even better, if you want everyone to access it, go on YouTube and create a podcast playlist on YouTube, right? If your podcasts are on YouTube, based on what you've done with your account, when you create a playlist, that could be also a revenue generating activity for you, because if that playlist is getting a lot of views, you can use that same playlist and pitch to an investor or a promoter or a sponsor and say, hey, we're going to slot in your episode or a pre-roll of your show or maybe your product at the very top of this playlist before people start listening to it, or just, bake it right into the episode so that people can listen to it. That way, when you have a playlist that has music and that also has a place for sponsorships, then it also gives you that, longevity. Now, when it comes to music, copyright, entertainment business, you have to also think about, if you're making money from this and there's music involved, you also have to think about those regulations, right? But if you have, music that you're creating, jingles you're creating, or sounds that you're creating, and they're yours authentically, and you're building your own sound, you can put that into your playlist. People do lo-fi music, right? You can say, hey, here's a 2 minute, 30-second lo-fi, segue, and that's going to help people listen to it. People are going to keep streaming that song, right? So you're getting royalties on the back end, music wise, and you're also getting listens and downloads on the back end, podcast wise. So you're kind of bridging two gaps together. That's also giving you a revenue generating activity that over time, your email list will love your playlist because they have songs that they listen to. They're going to add it to their library. They're going to add your podcast to their playlist. So when you create playlists for businesses, for your podcast, for your music, it can go a really long way. So it also gives you, a soundboard that people can sound from. And why I'm even bringing this up is because every year, if you have a podcast, if you use Apple or Spotify, they always have Spotify Wrapped, right? So, like last year for me, I got to know that my audience loves listening to pop music, hip hop music, and Afrobeat music. So I already know what my audience loves to listen to. And that's because I had the intention of actually setting the tone. So now I know what they listen to. I know my top list in the city is San Jose, California. I know, the zip codes around there. If I want to do hyper target marketing, I can do that specifically. So I know they're homeowners. I know they're family oriented. I know that they're working. I know the household income. I can go deep into research and development just because I know one zip code, right? So if you're doing research and you're going deep into search, right? Then I can easily pull out some information that I would not have seen if I didn't use my voice. So using playlists is a really good way to boost out your traffic, and that can also give you, longevity over time. So put in the chat yes or no if you've thought about it, if you do it, and then let's go around the room to hear what y'all thoughts are on this. Anyone can start.
Just real quick, Favor, for you getting in the sphere of influence in San Jose, right in the heart of Silicon Valley, that's pretty big because those people have specific interests all the time. My friends that are attorneys there, intellectual property guys, creators, startup people, they're all right there. And just to get in that frequency means you definitely I'm not trying to give you flowers for no reason. There is a reason, because when you have people in a specific region that are talking because they actually are movers, they actually are the action and designers, that says a lot. I mean, because I do hear some of my friends over there talking about like, yo, you do need to check out this playlist, and here's what you need to think about when you're designing your brand. And I listen, I don't give a response. I just check it out. But I mean, kudos to you. If you can get into San Jose and people are talking and they're paying attention to your playlist, this is something definitely of interest.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it takes I never run one ad, by the way, for the record. I never run any ad for my podcast 5 years in. All this data I'm getting is organic, with 300 plus episodes. It's like the data had to just come back to me. And because I planted my RSS feed on good soil, it just found itself, right back. So it's not just about putting a podcast out there. You also want to make sure your RSS feed is equivalent, because RSS feed is equivalent to XML files. In other words, blogs and podcasts have the same outreach. The only difference is the filing system. So blogs have an XML file that stands for expandable or extensible markup language, right? And then RSS feed, they have two meanings. It's either really simple syndicating or syndication, or rich. rich something sampling. I don't know, it has a weird connotation to it, but when it comes to syndication, RSS feeds are automatic, XMLs are also automatic if you're able to index them correctly. So that's how I was able to get into those locations. And that's not the only city. There are so many others. I got to know about Round Rock, Texas from my podcast, and I got to check the zip code because I always go to homefacts.com. Y'all can check that out as well, homefacts.com. And you can just type in the zip code. I use other platforms, but I'll give you that one. Homefacts.com, just type in the zip code, type in the city. You get to see the crime rate, you get to see the schools, you get to see the weather, you get to see the, whether it's white collar, blue collar, how much is a studio apartment, a home, you get to see all those things. And then you kind of go deeper into the surface. So I do research like that. And then that also helps me know what people are talking about. That's how I got to know about Round Rock, Texas, and there are homeowners there. I've never been there myself, but I've always said that I've traveled to more countries with my podcast than I've ever visited physically in person, and that's because of voice, that's because of reach. So if you use your podcast and do it correctly, you will never go wrong because people love to listen to good stuff. So thanks for that, Jason. Anyone else had anything that they wanted to add on to it? Dr. Fashion? Yes.
Yeah, I was just confirming what you said with the playlist because I brought this up quite often here on Clubhouse, especially on YouTube. So if you guys never created a playlist and you have a podcast or you're just a video creator and you don't have a podcast, that's a little hack right there that Favor just shared, is adding music into that podcast or that playlist. So, for example, for some of my clients, they have podcasts that's related to women empowerment. So, we'll use somebody like Beyonce to add in music in between the episodes. So, we already know off the top that Beyonce gets a lot of views, she gets a lot of listens. But if people are searching for her, and let's say they landed on your playlist with her music first, what's going to happen when she's in your playlist? Your episode would automatically play right after her song. So that's just a little hack for anybody that don't know about playlist on YouTube.
You see
I never
that?
thought about it. I think that's something I overlooked. So thank you for that tip.
Yeah, if this room can get you paid, you just have to take action. But the truth is, not everyone's gonna do what we're saying, and that's why I love podcasting, because we say it once and we set it and forget it, and then someone else will hear it in a year from now and take action and build a whole fortress. So it's really up to you. Your life, your decisions, your outcomes, your life. So I think they have this SEO keyword YMYL, your money, your life. So how you spend it is how you want to spend it. No one's going to tell you what to do with your time, but we can help you optimize it, better if you'd like to do that. So yeah, playlists are big. If you have a playlist for your podcast and it's music oriented and people love the music you're playing, and that also bumps into your podcast, that's going to boost a lot of energy for you because people can find your podcast, they can connect with you, they can feel like, oh wow, this person likes this music, I didn't know you like this artist. And then you start getting feedback and people start loving your show because of your music. That's why people love McDonald's, because of the fries. you know People love Chick-fil-A because of the sauce. People love whatever because of whatever. So even though you have a brand, find out that one thing that people look at with your brand that stands out, and then use that as a way to like launch yourself out there. So don't just think about creating revenue. Think about the list you're building. Once you have an email list that is strong, people are connecting with you, they're resonating with you, you're connecting with them, you're going into LinkedIn groups, you're going into Facebook groups, you're going into different groups and societies, even Reddit. Reddit has a great podcasting thread, subreddit. You can go there, put your stuff in there, let people know about you, connect your website to a podcast so that your podcast can grow, and then have a playlist to support your podcast and send them as emails. You'll never go wrong, because at this is what I do. Within a 10 email cycle, send 9 emails worth giving and ask once. The more you give, the more you receive. So if you give more content, give more value, give more episodes, give more resources, give, at some point they'll be like, where can I pay you? Where can I add to your life? Where can I, do something? I feel like I owe you something. That kind of thing. You want to be in that point of service. Because when you start serving people from a point of I love you. I love your content. I want to give back to you. I want to show you some, some good stuff. You can see that transcend throughout your podcast. And then you take that to YouTube. It's a game changer. I just launched my podcast on YouTube March 31st because of the RSS feed. And now people are listening to me on PlayStation. People are listening to me on platforms that I didn't ever think you would listen to a podcast, So it now opens up your mind a little bit further, and that gives you access. A lot of people spend money on ads because they want to make money back. That is true. You definitely want to have a positive return of your investment. But I primarily run ads if I have to run ads, which I'm planning to run ads for this podcast, the Growth Academy, and also with the podcast running, with CNN articles. That's the goal. I'm doing things very unconventionally because I want to go to where people are untapped, like untapped audiences. So if I'm building a podcast and I'm building it within an RSS feed and I'm putting that on a platform that people can connect with, then what does that mean for me ultimately? It means that people can find me, they can access my content. If I'm very strategic with how I verbally say my episodes in my podcast and tell them, hey, by the way, listen to this episode I did on March 21st talking about this, and the link is in the description for you to listen to it. People will listen to it. That's what's going on here on Clubhouse. With chats, if you put out a chat, that's what I do here on Clubhouse. If you do a room on Clubhouse, do a trailer, let people know what the room is about, let people listen to the chat. After the room closes, go back to the same chat and put the link to the replay so that people can see it in their hallway. Then that also increases your number of listeners. If you have a link in the room, people can click on that. 6 months from now, 12 months from now, people can still connect with you. So you have to be intentional. You have to set the intention. You have to plant good seed on good soil to get good fruit. And if you can do that consistently, you will never go wrong. But of course, you have to try it first to see if it's going to work in the first place or not. So that was a good point, Dr. Fashion. Thanks for bringing that up. Soda and Martin are here. I also see you sneaking in, Dr. Tavis. Thank you so much for being here. It's so good to have you. Thanks for joining us today. Soda and Martin, you guys have come up, and I would love to hear from you guys too. I'll start off with ladies first. Soda, we'd love to hear from you. What are you thinking? Because I know you put in the chat, you're like, oh, I didn't think about that with the playlist. So I'd love to hear from you. Welcome.
Yeah, because I was working on playlists, but the way you were explaining them kind of made me think of more ideas because the on my YouTube, I don't have a ton of subscribers, but the subscribers I do have, most of them are from making shorts that have music or sounds related somehow to my podcast. To one of my sisters are musicians, so some of them are their music. Sometimes it'll be popular music that's available in shorts, so it doesn't have copyright issues or whatever because the creator has it available to use. And then in shorts, you're able to, if you have a video podcast, you could link it, connect it there, and literally like I got maybe 200 subscribers just by doing that on my YouTube. So that's kind of like what you were talking about with the clubhouse chat. So that was just an idea I wanted to throw out. But yeah, I also will do the playlists with the music. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, please let me know how that goes for you. And congratulations on, the subscribers you got, because you always have to be in the mode of consistency and, determination. Like for me, I don't post much on my Instagram posts. Like I think my last post was January 15th, but between January 15th and April 18th, there's been a huge wave of new contacts, new subscribers, new podcast episodes, new opportunities. And now LinkedIn is really getting really big for me now. So just using LinkedIn and having beta access to LinkedIn now, I talk with LinkedIn staff directly, and I'm able to go inside the cracks to see exactly what's going on with the platform. It's very humbling, and it's also very exciting and scary too, in a way, because it's also showing that there's so much that is coming for social media that is changing everything. I talked about it yesterday, how LinkedIn is about to start doing connected TV as well. So with LinkedIn video now, if you have LinkedIn video, then those things can end up on like Hulu. It can end up on, different platforms. And they called it, what did she tell me yesterday? It's called forced play. So it means that you have to watch those 15 seconds without skipping the ad, which YouTube can also do with like non-skippable ads. And then it allows you to watch the video. So all these to say is that if you're thinking about revenue and you're thinking about generating, because when think about the word generating, it is a verb. It's an active verb. Generate. It's something that's happening in motion, and an activity is a verb too. It's in motion. So if you there's revenue that is generating, it means that the activities that you're doing have to generate that revenue. So I kind of look at words in a scientific way. So if you look at revenue generating activities, reverse it. Activities that generate revenue. What do I need to do? So if I need to send an email, if I need to pick up a call, if I need to send an invoice, if I need to show up at an event, those are activities I have to do. And how is it going to generate? Because I'm already in motion, I want to be practical with my intention. I want to make sure I can give you my business card. I can connect with you. I can give you my LinkedIn. I'm intentional with that. The revenue comes in. The revenue now piece is kind of like their job, not yours, because you've done 2 out of 3, right? Think about revenue generating activities like a pie, and then split that pie into 3 slots. So revenue is one side of the pie, generating is another slice of the pie, and then activity is another slice of the pie. Now, 2 out of 3 of those pies that you've sliced through, 2 of them is for you and 1 of them is for them, right? So the activities and the generating part is where you come in. The generating part is where you and them come together, and then the revenue is where they are by themselves. So the activity starts off with you and the activity ends with them. In other words, if you start something and they finish it, it's because you set an intention and they were able to receive it and give you that feedback. So currency, I would say feedback is the best currency, because when you get feedback, that feedback allows you to know how to give back. I play big on words. There's feedback, give back. So the word back means that there has to be some type of return on your investment. So I hope that helps you guys as well. Martin, we'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the conversation? Because you said you haven't heard that before. And I'll come to you, Dr. Tina. Ooh, your microphone is not working. Dr. Fashion gave me the eyes. Let's try it again. Okay, maybe you have to leave the room and come back in or change your audio settings. Yeah, I don't know why this happens on Clubhouse. It's the weirdest thing. But hope let's try it again. Nope, not yet. Check your Wi-Fi or your mobile setting.
The app has been glitching lately for the last few days, just like this. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 times before you have to come back and go in. So just to give you guys a heads up.
Yeah, thanks for that, Martin. If it doesn't work, please just let me know and try it again, and then I'll come back to you because we have about 7 more minutes before we wrap up. Dr. Tina, welcome to the room. Love your profile. Love what you're doing for your community. We'd love to hear from you. Do you have a question or contribution? Welcome. Oh, it's the same thing for both of you. Hmm.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's so weird. Mm-mm-mm.
Clubhouse. We got to get this together, Clubhouse. Dr. Tina, maybe try to leave the room and come back in. And then I think one thing you can also do is like swipe up, leave the room, like literally like remove the app, like swipe up of the app and then come back in and see if that works. Okay, let's try it again. Ugh, it's not working.
Hello?
Okay. Okay, for you, Martin, it's working. What did you
Okay.
do?
Dr. Tina, leave, shut down the app, and I don't know, this is weird, but I called my wife to see. if she could hear me to make sure it wasn't a phone. I got an iPhone 13 or 14, whatever it is. So I was like, well, maybe it's the phone because there was an update last night. Well, a couple days ago, but I only updated last night. So everything on my iPhone was updated last night, and I say everything was a lot. It was a big update. Then I came back in after calling my wife. I came back in, and I went to Clubhouse. I went to the App Store, and the App Store was a brand new App Store. It said, "Hey, welcome to the App Store." I was like, "What the hell?" So I don't know if it's iOS update that they did a couple days ago, anything to do with it. But then I went to Clubhouse. I went to see if Clubhouse had an update. It didn't, and then I opened up. Those are the three things I did. Um, yeah, the playlist thing. I'm glad you have replays on because I literally tried to listen to what you were saying and what Doctor Fashion was saying. Shout out to Doctor Fashion and Doctor Savas. The and Doctor Tina too. um, I didn't fully get it, but I had me and 10G had a conversation with a group 2 days ago that's doing dubbing. They're dubbing their YouTube channels into different languages, and they were talking about that, having a playlist for French, having a playlist for Spanish and Portuguese because Brazil is a I didn't know the largest group of people on like YouTube is India, then America, then Brazil. So they were talking about, but I don't know if it was the exact same thing you were saying in general for the concept of having a specific playlist for people that, like, say for instance, you do a podcast on content and you had something for specific people who make content per platform. So this is the playlist for TikTokers, or this is a playlist for if you're making content on YouTube. I don't know if you were talking about that. And then Dr. Fashion blew my mind with the playlist concept of adding music in between on the playlist. So that's a whole nother thing. But I definitely think that right now for podcasters, the way to make money is to, as you said earlier, be intentional. And I'm looking at we're launching our first episode of the official episode of Content Kings and Queen tomorrow on LinkedIn, YouTube, and then we're using transistor.fm to distribute it everywhere else on Audible. It'll be everywhere. And two of the companies we're going after as sponsors, we got through Beehive, and then I'm building a relationship with ConvertKit and their sponsorship network. So it is definitely about monetization on to me on podcasts are through relationship building. And as you said, with what LinkedIn is doing as far as vertical video, the beta, it's kind of interesting. Um, but the problem I have with it is that it's not fully rolled out. So people like you and me, we can see it, but then 10G doesn't have it. Most of my wife doesn't have it. Most of the people around me don't have access to it. So it's kind of bittersweet. But I definitely do, as you pointed out, think that the platforms like LinkedIn and or um, Audible, places where podcasts aren't really thought about per se, is where the new gold rush is going to be found.
Oh yeah, totally. I agree. I feel like that's going to be like an untapped deep blue ocean strategy if you know what you're doing. So LinkedIn is definitely a place that I would go if I was to, start it again. And John said it too earlier. Newsletters, they're free. Just start it. You never know what that could do for you, because the more people you're able to bring into your storytelling, your pipeline, the more people can trust you, and that also increases your ability to secure more connections too. So thank you so much for that, Martin. I think Dr. Tina probably left, but I'll reach out to her privately if she had a question for me, because I know the app be glitching sometimes. But
I brought her up on stage. She has a podcast and she's part of my Creator Life family.
okay, good.
But her podcast is on Roku and other TV stations and stuff. So she's killing it.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
she's got other podcasters paying her. I'm paying her. I'm going to be paying her to distribute our podcast to her network. She's got 40, almost 40K parents in a private Facebook group called Melanated Homeschoolers. That's how she started. And then from there, she just started a podcast network for those parents who had podcasts in her own community. And then that's blown up. And then she started something I didn't even know existed, which was she started a homeschooler magazine that she sells for $30 on Amazon. So Amazon has the magazine distribution, like they distribute books, but or it's not a but, it's an and. You know, when you talk about analytics, her analytics are dope because Amazon gave her an award last year for being one of the fastest growing, widely distributed magazines that they have in their newsstand. That's what they call it. And so I'm just following Dr. Tina's playlist. Like I'm like, okay, I see you, Dr. T, and she's pretty reasonable. You know, her cost, like, her what she charges for doing things is pretty reasonable. And you're guaranteed a community of people who are independent and looking for the best content for their kids.
I love that. Anything for the kids. Anything for the kids, for sure. I love that. That's a big one. Thank you for bringing that up. You just talked about 10G and 10G walked in. Martin, what did you do? You just
Nah,
called
but you know what I
10G.
do, bro. I texted him when I first came to the room. I was like, "Yo, Favor is over here killing it. We gotta come back to the clubhouse."
Yo, yo,
And then,
what's
and
What's
going
look,
on?
good?
so we gotta say flowers to Favor because Ted G, because Favor was one of the people who first liked our we do a LinkedIn thing on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday called Morning Traffic Report, and I saw my analytics, and Favor was the first person to like our traffic report yesterday. Ted G.
Okay, that's what's up. And he could bring Dr. Fashion and John in the room. Deborah's, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's good, man? Good to see you, man. Every time I'm seeing you, I see you on TikTok more than I see you on Clubhouse. So it's like I feel like I'm talking to you, but I'm not really speaking with you. So it's always good to, see you on the platform. You're killing it on LinkedIn too. You guys are doing amazing things on there. And I love that it's being done from a point of service. And a lot of people are also learning from you too. And it's that connection that really brings the value into the conversation. So I'm really excited that, Clubhouse is still here. I'm intentionally being on the platform because I want to be on Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse has really made me meet a lot of great people. And there's only one way to be on the app is by showing up. You can't be on this app without being without showing up. So if you don't show up, you don't show out. And I want to make sure I'm able to show up so that people that listen to this room, the replays, they can listen. I have this like default thing where I don't take off my replays from Clubhouse because I feel like I'm educating people and I want to teach as many people as I can. So if you learn something new on Clubhouse and find me on LinkedIn or find me on my podcast or find me on some platform or find me in person, then at least I've been able to give some type of feedback to you that can allow you to generate what you're looking out for. So yeah, today I hope you learned something new, and I hope you're taking something home that's going to give you access for greater responses, greater connections, greater reach, and ultimately have a better brand. Our brand is always evolving. Last year April, our brand wasn't the way we are today, so you want to evolve as time is changing. As time is evolving, you have to evolve too. Jason, did you want to say something?
I just, I appreciate all those who are still on Clubhouse who waded through the tide. Remember in September and October, you just saw the flood of people. Oh, Clubhouse is dead. They're dying. They're going bankrupt. And it's like, it's always interesting when
Yep,
you don't
I
run
know
an app.
somebody personally that said that.
Yeah, when people don't run an app and they don't make money doing what Clubhouse does, then you never had a stake in the game. You're just trying to get attention. But if you stayed here and you waded through and you found the ways and you learned about the new tools, that's why it's really important to people to attend either listen to the replays of the town halls, listen to what people say about the tools, because use Dr. Fashion and your points of reference in this discussion. Playlist was a big takeaway. That's number one for me. Second takeaway was, how do you identify on LinkedIn for the tools that you can use to get your exposure for your playlist, your brands, and so on and so forth? Three, what's your connectability? Do you relate to people or do you just piss people off? Think about how you're going to build your network to relate to people. So that's what I've gained. And three takeaways before I exit out the room.
I got a I got a burning question for y'all because I'm seeing this on every other platform. To 72's point, that more and more platforms are trying to embrace voice notes. I think it's the dumbest shit on the planet, but I've known Pin to be wrong many times. So, how's everybody feeling about like this push to leave people audio notes that they have to play to listen versus leaving them text messages or just calling them or doing a Zoom?
Is this publicly or privately?
This is on every almost every platform. It seems to be both. It seems to be in the DMs, and they're pivoting towards audio, like how Clubhouse week like to 72's point in the beginning of September or August at the end. It was a push to like, let's get rid of text, let's get rid of DMs, and let's make you have to leave people an audio note in order to communicate to them.
Honestly, I'm pro. I mean, we're on Clubhouse. I would, I would do it. I would use voice notes over text. That's me because I want to communicate effectively. You know, you can read a text and misread the text. It's happened to people. It's happened to me before. So if I hear from you and I hear your tone, then that lets me know how to respond back. So I'm for it. I don't think there's a problem with it. I feel like it's even better because texting someone with an exclamation mark can just change the whole thing, or writing in all caps can change everything. So I'd rather just tell you what I'm thinking, say it as it is, respond back to you and connect. Because when I do see you in person, I'm going to use my voice. I'm not going to be texting you in person, like saying, hey, how was your day? I'll be asking you that question. So I'm not opposed to it. They can bring all the voice notes they can. I think Threads has it now. TikTok has it as narration. You can have a voiceover. Pinterest has it. Everybody has it, and I'm with it. I don't mind it as long as I'm hearing something good. What do y'all think? Tenji is laughing.
I'm thinking like it takes so much time, extra time out of my day now.
To send a
That I mean,
message, a voice
honestly,
message.
yeah, yeah. Listening to it. Well, I will say this: on Clubhouse, I have never gotten a voice note since they started. No one has left me a voice note. They hit me on Instagram with a text. That's Clubhouse people. But to
Wait a
your
minute,
point,
Mark, do you want us to send you a voice
Right,
message now so
exactly.
you don't feel left out?
no, no, absolutely not, John. Please
Let's
don't.
all
I
do that
think that
It
right
that's a
takes
now.
call
it
to
takes up
action
so
right
much
there.
time, John. Like if I have to listen to you, I'm like, okay, John, take the time to send me a voice
Yeah,
note. I need to listen to
yeah.
that. I can't ignore it. Like I can scan it. I mean, maybe because I learned to read fast as a kid, so I can scan really fast, and I'm good, and I know exactly what to send back. To Favor's point, the returning message, I may be too fast and I may be too unintentionally pushing somebody to a different direction. So I'm very slow with how I type, and I reread things 3 or 4 times before I send as a text. Voice notes on LinkedIn, I've always found them intriguing because the person who does do that, they're usually, like Favor said, they're very intentional with their voice note. It's not a random, spammer that's sending me a voice note on LinkedIn. But I just feel like it's in this time period of having to do so much. I don't know if I have the time to listen to 3,000 voice notes a day
I got a response for that, Dr. Martin.
Wait, but yet he's on Clubhouse right now listening to all of us. I'm just kidding, Mark.
while I'm
We're
while
sending
I'm
you a voice
folding
note.
clothes, while I'm feeding my 2-year-old.
Yeah, true. You go, boy.
I'd like to add something to that if I can. Is that okay if I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hey, Favor, and can you hear me okay? I have headphones on, but I just want to make sure I'm coming
Yeah,
through all
you're
right.
good.
Okay, good deal. Um, I think to the whole bit with the asynchronous recording, Clubhouse, I think, still has an advantage. I know when they first started that here, it was a lot of people had pushed back at it originally, but I think the big advantage of it is that depends on what you're combining it with. With Clubhouse, it can be a little hard to be on stage with people at the time when someone's doing a room. And I think with the asynchronous recordings, I think there was a better advantage with Clubhouse than it would be with, say, a LinkedIn or with Twitter, even though both of those have similar types of hosting rooms, there just was a better way. I think with Clubhouse, it became the benefits was a little bit more clear. Um, for something like a LinkedIn or Twitter, to Martin's question, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I think the challenge is that it may be a feature that might get a shrug, but I think part of the reason it would, it just depends on what it's being combined with. I think that ultimately ends up how whether something is going to be good or bad, whether it's going to be a real big benefit. I do think for Clubhouse in particular, it's a benefit because I know sometimes getting into the rooms, there's been plenty of rooms I would love to jump into, but I do analytics and I do a lot of programming with our programming, and to be honest, that's also a little bit math heavy. So I don't always have the time to stop what I'm doing and then jump into a room and then kind of wait to join the conversation a little bit. So sometimes it can be helpful, but I think and I think Favors brought that up as well too. But I think the challenge is that when it's on another platform, I think some of these other platforms have not caught up in terms of using live audio or even these sort of spaces. And I think something like that might be beneficial, but again, I think it depends on the platform and what's been developed out to make the feature beneficial. And I'll land my plane here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Pierre. You're right. That model, it does work here, and I just wish that Clubhouse brings analytics to the app because that's going to really help. And that's why I was using Diacon back in the day when Clubhouse was Clubhouse. Before all these changes happened,
Wait,
and
Favor, didn't you see what I sent you on Instagram? I sent you all your analytics for
I saw
Clubhouse.
that, but I don't know how often they update that. I saw it a while back and I kind of ignored it. I think it's like the DB thing. I was like, I don't know if it's updated or it's just pulling data. So I'm gonna check it again and see. Maybe I didn't look too deep into it, but
I
I'll
could
check
be
it
wrong
again.
too. So I could be very wrong.
I paid for the Dark. What's the other one? Up until October,
Hub.
because yeah, it was pulling from the rooms. For me, it was good because, and it still works. It's still pulling, um, whichever one is the $89 one. It pulls everybody's information. So when I leave the room, I would get a spreadsheet of everybody that was in the room and their contact information. So to your point, the third parties, not internally, and I don't know I can't see why Clubhouse would actually offer us the analytics at currently what they're doing. But I think the third party, to your point, is definitely the way to go if you're really serious about Clubhouse analytics.
I'm looking at your analytics right now, Favor, and it's like within a month. March 26th is the last time they updated their analytics, telling how many people you gained, like the charts, followers. So I don't know if it's updated, but it's clubhousedb.com/user, and then you put your username. You can just Google it too. So
That's Julie, you bring up a really good point about analytics, actually. A really, really good point. It's how recent the numbers are updated. And I think it was Martin that brought up the point about the third party too. I think that's also a great point. I think right now the biggest problem is that a lot of these social media platforms are encouraging people to use them for commercial purposes, but to do that correctly and make like really good decisions, you need real time, and that's something that has not really. Um, I'm trying word this correctly. It's not that it has not been available, but it hasn't been widely done across the platforms to give people a fair comparison. I love that Julie brought up the point about um, what was the timing and what's the data was updated, because it may not be timing suited for, say, Favor, if he's trying to if he has content and he's trying to figure out which content appealed to his audience base more recently. Um, and with Martin bringing up the third party, it's right now there used to be some really good free third party social media analytics tools, and some of them have been sort of wiped out. Part of that is from the whole Twitter API fiasco. But a lot of that is also because it's just some of the platforms, they're still stuck in this, let's get the audience, let's get the advertising, but they don't really give the influencers a good API with a payload, the data that can be built into into a social media dashboard or something that really is very helpful. So these are two really good points that are brought up that I love. Thanks for bringing them up.
So to that point, this is the lesson learned that TNG and I always talk about. What we could have done differently in 2021 and 2022 with Clubhouse, it would have been to pull people off of Clubhouse into our own community, right? And at least I laughed about um, some of the Discord people that were pulling people into Discord, whose communities I'm in now. But they, I was like, oh, why are you making people go with Discord? You got a great club, you got a great house or a club, and look at what happened. And now they have their community, and they can use and other tools because you built your own community, like Laylo. I don't know if anybody's using this. It's the word lay and then lo.com, but that's a really good tool to do drops and sell merch and build your own community. That's monetizing them, and at least a Facebook group like Dr. Tina has. There's these groups that during the 2022 period, they pulled people off of Clubhouse, and that to me is a takeaway. One lesson learned that I wish I had it done earlier was definitely pull more people off of Clubhouse, not just my club, which we have 1,600 people in a LinkedIn group from Clubhouse, but really I should have monetized and did something better for a general audience. To Pierre's point, people who just randomly came through, that was closer to 6,000 people, and I didn't pull those people off at all.
You're so right on that. For me, I think that started up early in. Let me put it this way: the reason why I joined Clubhouse in the first place was because I wanted to create an extension from my podcast, and that was in 2020. And that was just 1 year into my podcast then. And by November 24th, 25th, I was on Clubhouse, and anytime I had a room, I was able to connect people outside the platform and bring them into my ecosystem because I just knew that this app, you don't know what's going to happen. Is this app going to die one day? Is it going to be here forever? Are people going to still be here? I didn't know that. All I knew was I have time to do what I can now and accumulate all the abilities if it's possible to do within the time frame I have. So a lot of people came here before even replays became a thing. People were recorded on Zoom. I used to do Clubhouse Zoom rooms where I would put the link to the Zoom at the top of the room and people would join me on Zoom and I'm doing a case study or I'm doing a tutorial on the platform and it's time consuming. But if you think about the long-term effect of that and you're building your contact list over time, that's where the revenue generating activity comes from, especially if you're a podcaster. You come on the platform, you intentionally tell them, hey, listen to my podcast. If I put a link to my Apple podcast, yeah, you can subscribe, but I don't have your contact list. If you have, 150, you know, followers on Spotify, you don't have their contact list. Spotify does, right? If you have 1,000 subscribers in your newsletter, LinkedIn has those emails. That's why they're receiving them. You don't. So if you create a system where you're building into getting into your own ecosystem and creating an inner circle by adding contact details to your platform, then anywhere you go on a platform, you're always going to connect with people. Somebody texted me on Reddit asking about how to grow their podcast. I don't know where they are in the world, but it happened on Reddit messages. So just by showing up and just giving people value over time, it's going to come back in full blown, responses. So you have to just think about the intention you're setting, right? Create a playlist for your podcast, have an email list for your podcast, verbally talk about your episodes within your podcast so people can go back to those episodes and talk about them. That way, when you see years from now your episodes growing, it's because you talked about it, right? If you have a top 10, do that as a magazine. If you're, focusing on themes, use those things. So revenue can come in different streams. When you hear revenue streams, those are different, water banks, river banks. You want to be able to create that for yourself. And why I'm so passionate about podcasting this year is because it's my 5th year and I've started to, build out an academy. So the link up top is going to take you to the Podcast Growth Academy where you can sign up and you're going to get more insights on how you can start a podcast, you can monetize a podcast, you can scale a podcast, your podcast, another podcast, and build it to where you want it to go. The reason why I'm doing this is because I got access to LinkedIn staff and Pinterest staff. So I'm able to connect to them directly and learn about the beta access program and be part of the system so I can help our clients and our students, get the best bang for their buck. And then more importantly, which I'm so excited about for you guys, is once you're joining the academy too, I'm going to set you up with someone on a call who is going to help you, get your podcast within the CNN articles and also the AP News articles as landing pages and advertising slots for your episodes. And why I'm doing this so specifically is because I know that as a business, if you want to scale your business in 2024, you need your voice. Your brand is your voice. Your voice is your brand. If you can show up consistently, post content consistently, show up on social media consistently, and you have, the 101 NAP, name, address, phone number, the same across your social platforms, then you're building that domain authority. When you hear the word domain authority, it's not just a magic word. When I hear domain authority, I think about intellectual property ownership, right? If I want to build a website, I'm building a website because I have domain access, right? But if you have a website and you only have a homepage, contact page, about us page, gallery page, that's it. You only have 4 pages. So you have a thin book. You have a thin website. Think about your website like a book. The thicker the book, the more the pages. So your website, the thicker the website, the more the links. So the more links you have, the more uniform resource locators you have on your website, the more you get more access to more people finding you, which increases your market share. Now, don't think about search engines and think about, oh, I want to rank first. Think about what is my market share percentage in my TAM, my total available market? What is my score? How can I add value to these people? If I have content, can I produce content at a fast rate? If I'm doing revenue generating activities, it means that I'm breaking down concepts. I'm talking about examples. I'm giving you descriptions, and all of a sudden you're creating value for this consumer. So by the time they're talking to you on the phone, they've gone through your content, they've gone through your mix, they've gone through your brand, and now they're connecting with you on a deeper level. So it just starts off with you doing the right thing now and building a website that has an email list, opt-in builder, as a pop-up form, and let people sign up to your email list, let people subscribe to your podcast, send emails about your podcast. I've never sent an email about a podcast and someone tells me stop sending me emails about a podcast, because it's the lowest um friction. How do I put this? It's like the lowest barrier to entry and also has the lowest friction, because I'm not selling you anything. I'm just giving you my time. Hey, here's a 5-minute episode of what is this? And someone's going to spend 5 minutes and listen to it and then spend 50 minutes on a call with you talking about that 5-minute episode. If you have an episode about your frequently asked questions about your company, that's schema for you. That's markup language for you. That's rich text for you, right? So it just depends on how intentional you want to show your business. And that's how people are going to perceive you. Your systems, your processes, if someone loves your system, they love it, they leave a review, they're going to come back again. If I love the way the hotel, treated me, I'm going to come back again. If I don't like the way I had customer service, I'm not going to come back again. So treat your website like a brand, treat your podcast like a brand, and let people see your brand without you having to talk about your brand. Let them see it so they can talk about it themselves. So does anyone want to say anything really quickly before we wrap up? I know we've had a lot to talk about today. So anybody in the room would like to say anything? I'm tossing the mic up.
Favor, I would like to ask you, would you be a guest in my house Sound Off Tuning to talk about hooks for podcasts? I think you're really good with those kinds of things, and you have so many hit points that are like, oh, light bulb go off, light bulb go off. So I'm just going to ask it straight out.
Yeah, definitely. Please. I would love to. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me, send me a message here, or just click the link I put in the chat. That's gonna let you connect with me. and we can talk about it offline and see what we can do. I'm always down for collaboration. This year, I really want to do a lot of collaborations. And speaking of collaborations, just wanted to shout out John and Julie. I didn't plan to do this. I just thought about it, and because Jason talked about it, and I said, nah, I can't leave this room without saying this. John, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity you gave me, to be on your website, on your domain, and have my show there. I really appreciate you. I didn't have to ask for it. It happened, and it's just connections that led to that. So I really appreciate you for that, Julie, as well. I saw what you did with the link yesterday. I didn't even see it till I opened it up again, because you know how you can get a message and then you don't get the message previously. So I didn't even see the message till I opened the chat, and then I saw that and I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. So thank you, John. Thank you, Julie.
My
I really
pleasure,
appreciate you.
Favor.
Appreciate you. Just wanted to give you all your flowers. So I hope you guys are learning something new from today's room. We've had a lot of discussions, and I think we just can't but say that if you want to have a podcast that can grow in 2024, you need to have episodes, and you have to have episodes that have quality, and that quality has to be determined by the conversations you have. And just start somewhere. Just start. You don't have to get the biggest camera or the biggest microphone. Just start with your phone. Start with your camera phone. Hit the record button. Let people see it, because people want to see your progress. Yes, they want to see you be successful, but they also want to know how you got there. And if you start off by saying, hey, I started off with a microphone, I started off with, a headset piece, and now turned into a whole studio. That's what people want to listen to. That's what they want to have. So, yes, you definitely want to be part of that, and learn something new. Martin, did you want to say something? I saw you clipping.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank John for offering to send me a voice note, my very first voice note. Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
See, action takers.
That's like putting me on the spot there, Martin. I got to think of something to send
Uh,
you. I know what I'll send you.
listen. I lived in three parts of Philly, so anything you got to say about Philly, I'll take. I lived in West Philly. I lived in South Street. South Philly, over there by Broad and Washington Avenue, and then I lived way up north, way up north.
This has been a great. Go ahead, John. Maybe John is sending you a voice to right now. It's probably.
And though the app is messing up, which is totally Clubhouse. That's a total Clubhouse thing. I don't think it's been a year where the or 3 months where the app hasn't messed up.
Yeah, the app is doing its thing, but it's okay. We still.
And it's still favorite. It's still the number one social audio app. Even all this stuff. That's what I used to argue with TG about. He was like, "They're fucking up. They're this," and I was like, "Yeah, but they still the best place. They still are the best place.
You're right. Clubhouse is
it,
still. They were
it
first.
kills it kills LinkedIn audio. It kills Twitter. It killed Green Room. I mean, Amazon app. Nobody even knows what Amazon app is at.
Does Green
It's
Room
like,
still exist?
no,
Does it?
they shut that down. They shut it down like after 6 months.
By the way, Martin, I just sent you a voice message, so I hope everybody here in this platform sends Martin one as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Thank
do
you,
it
John.
too.
You're funny. I
You see, you have not because you ask not. Martin said it.
didn't
You
ask for
got
this.
it.
I didn't ask.
That's so cool. Go
Now my
ahead.
inbox is flooded, and I gotta sit here for another 10 minutes and listen to voice notes.
It's an experience. You gotta love the audio experience. It's really, really cool. Julie, did you want to say something, or were you clapping?
I was clapping as I was sending Martin a voicemail. Thank you.
That was a call to action if I ever heard one when he said, "Oh, no one sends me voicemail." So now you just teased the bear.
That was so accidental. I was trying to make a point that out of my 3,000 followers, or what they call them, friends now, got zero voice notes on this platform. So I felt like the people I follow or the people I connect with, they weren't using, It totally was not a call to action. But I get what you're saying, and I like the fact that you identified that, because that shows unintentionally how you still can mistakenly win.
Well, here's the big question I asked on my own place on Monday was how much open real estate is on Clubhouse that's being unused? What are the tools you're not using? And then those people who are saying Clubhouse is dead or it's going to be sold or it's going to go bankrupt, I don't see them making, like the people that I'm familiar with, I don't see them making rooms, but I always see them attending other people's causes. So it's like, how can you complain about something you don't do if you never put in or the understanding time or the learn time to use the tools?
We got to have a room on this, because I think it would be a huge or decent
You
sized
just
room,
call to action,
because
design it.
well, I was gonna say, Tizi and I for 2 months straight would argue every day about the same point that you're saying. I think that most people are upset about the fact that they lost a place they could get audience relatively easy. But I think that the tech bros slash tech gods on all platforms have screwed up in the last 6 months on almost every single platform, taking away something that the user base felt was really useful. And the founders have been like, to your point, they were like, I don't care. We're going to take it this direction. You're a user on my platform. I'm not working for you. You're using my software and what I think the direction of software should go. So deal with it. And that's been the tech bros, or so the tech gods, you know, thing. I think it's a lot to do with Elon Musk and with how he treated Twitter. And so we're gonna see a backlash, though. I think everything's secular. We'll see people start to go back to the other way of, oh, users, what do you really want? What are you really here for?
I agree with Martin, and I think it's a little bit more of a it's more of a developer think too. This is going to be a whole different topic, a whole different room a little bit. But I think one of the challenges is that there's a tendency to release a feature without looking at whether or not if it's a benefit, not in the classic business sense. So what you end up with is a bunch of tools which if a company is led by tech bro, so to speak, then you end up with a number of tools which, yes, they function, yes, they do what they said as advertised, but it's not the primary benefit. It's not Cars are the best way of learning how to do this. If you look at any automobile, yeah, there's a lot of features, but not every some features are just the glove box. They're not a feature that's going to sell a car to say Julie or Favor or John or anybody else. It's just a feature. And I think that's a big problem. I think when you combine that with technology, it just becomes a lot easier to post up stuff that, hey, we not only that post up stuff that people end up using and caring about, but then to what Martin brought up, removing it and not caring that you've taken away the one thing that people are really interested in. The automotive industry, I worked at cars for 8 years. I can tell you that that's replete with history of features in a product that consumers um, were upset that were kind of taken out at some level. So that, I mean, it's a good conversation to have. I think I'll gladly jump in on that one.
Hey, Pierre, to add to your point, look at our phones. How many apps go unused on your phone? That's just adding a prime example. Yet, we're so eager to get the next phone or the next upgrade of the device because we don't want to be excluded. So, I like your point you just raised.
I like what you just raised about the apps too. That's a good one.
And also look at the money behind it, because that's the other thing too with this platform specifically. When Ben Horowitz and his wife Felicia would host the dinner parties, the language that the guys were using, Paul and what's the Joe, were using in September, August, sounded just like Felicia talking about her dinner party. And it was like, hey, you want to have this circle? You want to have, and it's, remember the circles. Now Mighty Networks has these same circles that we see in Clubhouse, and so the money in Silicon Valley, not just the founder, but the money behind the founder, feels that this feature is a feature that they want to see more. Okay, you guys had 2 or 3 years to play around with this platform. Now we're going to build it in a way that we think we want it to go. And we don't really care what you think, to Pierre's point. But that's the way in the language. It's consistent across these platforms. Be Real is another situation where the investors felt like this is what Be Real should be. The users felt like no, it should be this, and they took away a big feature, and they lost 25% of their platform. Like who loses 25% of your user base because you take a feature away and doesn't bring it back? They don't need to bring it back because the money says that wasn't something we felt should have been there in the first place.
No, you're right on that. At the end of the day, I think anything that is done from an executive position is going to be highly influenced by the bottom line. Simple. So whatever has to be done to move that bottom line from 1% to 2, if it takes taking things out, layoff, whatever, they have to do that. And it's just business. So I just feel like that's their policy, that's the way they handle things. But on the real, I think being on Clubhouse and just being here consistently has really shown wonders, both in numbers, both financially and socially. And that's why I'm staying here. The two top platforms that, bring business and bring actual conversations that I value are LinkedIn and Clubhouse. So if I'm spending time on LinkedIn and Clubhouse daily, it means that there are people that I can connect with daily. And that also adds value to my life daily. So I want to pour into someone as they're pouring into me. And what other place can you do it than a platform like this where you can connect with people? I asked a client yesterday and I was talking to her and I was like, imagine if you have a podcast about for your business and 3 years later from now, 5 years later from now, you're getting new business, and all you have to do is refer them back to old episodes, old articles. Not that they're old, but you've pretty much done an upgrade on your content. And that allows you to save time for yourself. And she's like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Because a lot of small businesses start today, a year from now, 2 years from now, you can't validate or even say what you did for your business. You can give us your financials, your P&Ls, you can give us your balance sheets. Those are cool, but when it comes to social impact, when it comes to social currency, that's a different topic altogether. So if you are connecting with people, then it means that you're solving problems. And if you can do that with a podcast as a small business, at whatever scale, you can really go far because that also opens up conversations for you. And in turn, you get back data. That data you get allows you to know where your audience really is. Because people say, I don't know where my audience is at. It's right there in front of you if you use a podcast, because a podcast gives you free access to information and you're able to now build the frameworks from there. So there's so many ways to go about this, but this room has really been big. We've had this room for what, probably 2 hours now. So you guys can definitely listen to the topics that we discussed earlier. And we had a great conversation. So thank you so much for joining. This room was supposed to start earlier, but I had a meeting that exceeded by some time. So I wanted to at least let you guys know. I apologize for the tardiness, but I'll make sure that things don't schedule in like that. But it just happened, and I had to make sure I can manage it properly. So thank you so much for being here. You guys would have been anywhere else, but you're here with me today. So I really appreciate you, Dr. Fashion, John, Deborah, Dr. Martin, 10G, Jason, Pierre, Julie, Patience, Terika, Austin, Sirwan, and also 49 and other people who are here earlier. Thank you guys so much. So I hope you guys learned something new and I hope you're taking something forward. Save this replay so that you can also listen to it as well. How you can save the replay is you click the three dots at the top. Before leave quietly, tap on it and you click save replay. You can go back to your save replays. Also, if you are serious about the podcast Growth Academy, join the wait list. It's going to redirect you to a page to put your 20% commitment payment. And then it's going to redirect you to get on a call with me. And then from there to redirect you to my business card. That way you're able to connect with me fully. And I know you are serious about your podcast because, yes, we all want to start, scale, monetize, and everything. But the proof is in the pudding. So if we can get you outside Clubhouse into a zone where you can actually be a genius and show how you can perform and get your content out there, I'll be happy to help you with that. Monetization is not going to be so hard, and this is not a course. Just to let you know, it's not a course where you're going through modules. This is an experience. When you go to academy, you want to learn from other people. You want to learn from people's mistakes. You want to learn from people's experiences. That's what it's going to be. It's not a course where you're going to sit down. It's going to be something that's going to be very interactive. And then our first class is on May 1st, and I'll get you guys all the details there. But I want to make sure that by the end of this year, Businesses have podcasts, institutions have podcasts, corporations have podcasts that they can use, monetize, and grow their business forward. So I hope you guys can take action and take action today. Empress stepped in the building. Good to see you, Empress. Thanks for joining today. So I really appreciate y'all. Click the link, stay connected. I'll be here again on Clubhouse. I'm going to be doing more rooms more often. So let's stay in touch and let's grow together. So, with that said, have an amazing Thursday. I'm going to catch y'all in the next Clubhouse room. Take care, everybody.